Our friend Jack doesn't feel well.
No, he's not feeling very good. So I'm Jack. Hi.
This is Jack, and I'm Jack. And we're going to talk to some really cool people, Brian, Eddy, and Dwight Sullivan.
Yeah.
So let's bring them up right now. Come on, guys. So I've worked with you guys for a long time, and I know you guys begrudgingly work with me, but we have a lot of fun, and we've made some really cool games together. The last thing that you guys worked together on was the Mandalorian, and you made a really cool topper. And I just want you guys to tell us a little bit about how that topper came about.
We really kind of set out right from the beginning, both Dwight and I, and said we wanted to make the best, most incredible topper that Stern has ever made. And kind of going back and forth, trying to find elements within Mandalorian that were different or cool than what's on the game. And the hologram was just something that's been part of Star Wars. It was part of the Razor Crest in the game, and we thought that would be really cool if we could recreate that somehow on top of the game. Exactly
it looks like the cockpit. I mean, when it lights, I think what's neat about it is the hologram is really cool, and it reminds you of the classic Star Wars blue holograms.
Right.
But what I thought was really neat, and when I saw it in person, is the lighting effects that happen in the cockpit.
We weren't sure if we could actually make it look like the cockpit either, because it's a small space, it has to fit on top. So we went through a number of iterations of just trying to get that feel, and working with Disney too, right? Yeah. They wanted to make sure it was authentic, and it is. If you look at the real cockpit, the number of controls on each side,
and the panels and what they look like,
they were very particular, but it looks great, and I think it's been received very well. So congratulations, guys! One of the coolest toppers out there. Tell us a little bit more about Mandalorian and what made that such a cool thing to work on, and what that was like to work on a big Star Wars property that wasn't just classic, it was current.
We were so excited to do it, to be part of it, that we jumped on and signed up to get it done. To me, it's part of the Star Wars lore, but it's I think the first new series that really took off and really resonated with fans. And to be part of that, just the first season pulled you in so well.
Yeah, so we started mapping out, well, this episode is going to be a mission, and this episode is going to be part of a multi-ball, and this could be a wizard mode, and I wonder what the second season's going to bring, and we had to leave room for the second season.
It was fun because it was like a space western, so there was cool adventures to go on and stuff like that.
When you approach a game like this, what's your process? Like, do you set out like the broad brush strokes? Is it trial and error? Do you have an idea of how you want the whole thing to be, and then you just slowly build towards that?
Even before we have a playfield that we're kicking around, we're deciding what the bone structure is going to be, what the overall flow of the game is going to be. We decide, like early on, we decided there'll be missions, there'll be multi-balls, there'll be encounters, stuff like that. We didn't know what they were called. Sometimes the names change. And then we start putting stuff in, and we start iterating, right? So you make something, you put it in, and you play it, and you go, oh, wow, that sucked. So then you throw it out, and you put something else there.
Whose idea was it to have this sort of the mini upper playfield element?
Yeah, I guess that was mine.
That's Brian.
Generally, I just do whatever Dwight wants, and that's
is that how this works?
Yeah.
Is that whatever Dwight wants, Dwight gets?
Yeah, pretty much.
Brian and I work really well together. We talk about everything. Like, each of us come with cool ideas. Yeah. I try and help him with layout and toy ideas, and he throws the window and then does whatever he wants. And then and he comes up with rule ideas, and and I throw them out the window and do whatever I want.
It works really well.
Right.
Yeah.
Both of you were away from pinball for a little bit. What was the inspiration that brought you both back to pinball? You guys recently came back,
Yeah. So I worked in pinball for 20 years, almost, and then I went back to Cy Games. I went back to Williams and worked for made slot machines. I asked them to be a designer, and they let me audition to be a designer. They gave me a test and stuff, and then they said, you're never going to be a designer. And then just after that, George comes and says, Dwight, we want you back at Stern. And I said, yes, please.
Because you are a great rule designer. You're one of the greatest rule designers of all time, Dwight.
I failed to communicate that to them. I don't think that it's their fault.
Brian, what was it that brought you back?
Yeah, my path was a little bit different. I was in pinball for about 10 years, as people know, in the 90s. And pinball, as most people know, kind of had a bit of a downturn there for a while. So I went off and did all sorts of other things, a bunch of video games on the consoles, and Facebook games, mobile games, and then pinball started having this resurgence. So when I had the opportunity for it to come back to it, it's 20 years since I had done my last pin before I did Stranger Things. I couldn't pass that up.
What was it like to come back? Did it feel like there was a lot of pressure? Did you have a bunch of ideas in your brain that hey, I have 12 things that I wanted to work on?
It was awesome to come back. I mean, 20 years, I never stopped thinking about pinball, right? So I had tons of ideas just piling up, and the chance to come back to it was amazing for me.
Yeah. It was like I never left.
Was there any technology shifts since when you left and when you came back that were much different that you had to deal with?
The LED lights is the biggest change. So Tanyo Kleiss owned a Star Trek LE, and he loaned it to me, and I put it in my basement next to my Star Trek Next Generation. And the Star Trek Next Generation looked like it had jaundice, right? It was all yellow and dark. Another huge change is the internet.
How much do you listen to the internet? Because that's
quite a bit.
I feel like it's a blessing and a curse. You hear all the great things, but then you hear all of the criticism from people.
I comb through the forums, and every once in a while there's a nugget of gold there. There's somebody will say this sucks and this is why, and I'll go, he's right, yeah. Or this is great, and I'll be like, cool, he found that, or he thought that was great, and I did too.
And you've changed Mando a few times in certain rules just to adapt to that. And I think it's great. And we can't think of absolutely everything.
So do you think that the design process is different because of the fact that that you're able to update and adapt to the game as it sort of ages?
It gets more refined, I think, than it used to, right? We relied upon our skills and the people within the company playing the game and giving us feedback.
Yeah.
Now we have the whole world.
We still we still
same.
aim at what we think is going to be the absolute best game ever on day one, right? And then we're wrong, and then we
hopefully
fix
not
it.
too wrong.
Right? No, right. But then we fix it, and we we learn from it.
Do you guys have like a favorite aspect of designing a game, like sort of a signature item that you put in each game?
I would say for me, two things I like are flow in a game and toys. Something unique, something that you haven't seen before, something that you can interact with. So those are the two things I try to pull from whatever license we have.
And you've had some major toys in a lot of your games. Do you have a favorite toy?
I have a favorite Brian toy.
You do?
Yeah.
What's your favorite toy?
The projector, I think, is one of the coolest toys ever invented in pinball.
Yeah, absolutely. And the
with mapping?
The projector is super awesome, and then also the UV reveal was
it's icing on the
cake.
cake.
That game had a couple neat modern technology advances. How did you take advantage of those, Brian?
Yeah, I think it's just trying to do something new and different, right, that you haven't seen before. And since there's more technology than there was back in the 90s, we can just do more.
That was a fun license. I think maybe we'll get to do more with that in the future. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I think so too. Is there something you're working on or something you guys might work together in the future? Is that something we'll see in the future?
Just look forward for more games from us.
Yeah.
I think we're excited about them. So.
Yeah. I can tell you I have seen what you guys are working on, and I would say it's, since you've been at Stern, I've told you this before, it's the best shooting game you've ever made since you've been back at Stern.
I would agree.
Yeah, and it's really neat. It's really Can't wait for everybody to see it. And thanks for joining us. This has been Drinks with Jack. This is Jack. I'm Jack. And we've been brought to you by Logan Arcade and Goose Island Beer.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
We walk it off. We walk it off.